I welcome you all in this session of graphic designing where we will learn CorelDRAW. Now in this session we will learn something about the CorelDRAW interface, not very detailed but a little about CorelDRAW interface. So let's start. Now the first time when we open CorelDRAW, now we go to File and we click here New. Now you can also go here in this icon which is the File New icon. So you can click on this icon and you open this dialog box. Now a new file can also be opened by just pressing Ctrl and N and you can open a new file. Now this file, when I just click here OK, now you can see that there is a page, a margined page in the center of this CorelDRAW interface. Now this page, if you see, there are lots of menus over here on top, then there is this toolbar. I will explain it one by one. So let's start with opening a new page. Now first, as I told you, we create a new document and we get this dialog box. Now here you can put the name of the file, means whatever name you want for the file you can put here. Now then there is this option of preset destination, and this preset destination is nothing, just it will ask you whether you want something for print, and if you want something for print then you should use CMYK, which is the color mode for print, and then there is web and default RGB. This web and default RGB are both for digital medium. But as CorelDRAW is by default a printing software, and as we are talking about print right now, so I will use this default CMYK. Now here you can see the size of the page. Now if you see here, all these pages or all these letter legal tabloids, they are all about the printing page. So we can't fiddle with the size of the page. The size of the page of any printing device is always the same. Same means whatever is given here, we have to use any one of it which we need. The most commonly used is A4. So I will use A4 here. Now the moment you click on A4, you will see that the width and the height will get selected by default. And here is the measuring unit. Now you can use whatever you are comfortable with. After that you see there is orientation. There are two types of orientation in CorelDRAW. One is portrait and another one is landscape. And here you will see that there is number of pages. Means if you want more than one page, then you will just go on adding these pages. Now for us, as of now we will use only one page. I will show you some other option how you can add pages. And here the primary color mode, obviously it is CMYK. And for printing, the minimum resolution should be 300 dpi, and that's the reason it is 300. You can either change it, you can make it smaller, or you can just type and you can make it bigger. But the default printing resolution is always 300 dpi. Or dots per inches. Rest you just keep it as it is and click OK. Now see, the moment you create a new page, this is the new page, and remember this is your working area, means whatever you want to get printed you should draw only here in this area. Now if I go back to this welcome screen, you can see that there is no page, nothing here, but the moment I make a new page, I will get this option, all these options here. Now let us just have a look of in all these options which we can see in this entire CorelDRAW interface. Now this area is called the title bar, now which will show the name and the path of the current file. After that, this is a very important bar. This is called the menu bar, where you will get all the menus which are listed in this entire program are all listed here, but in a drop down fashion. So we can see that menu bar allows us to access the program's drop down menus when you click on the item name. Suppose I am clicking on this effect and I see there are lots of drop down menus, and also there are menus which are nested inside those drop down menus. Now after that there is this status bar which shows the current mode and information about the currently selected object. Now this is the status bar. Suppose I click here and make a new object. Now you can see that this entire option bar or the status bar is changing. Suppose instead of this rectangle, I am making a circle. So everything related in this status bar which is related to this circle will change. Now if I click here, I will get some other figure, and if I click on this icon, I will get some other options or other figure. So this is the option bar, or you can say it is the status bar, where we can have all the menus or all the options related to the object which you are drawing on this workspace or CorelDRAW page. Now in the left hand side, you will get the toolbox. Now this toolbox contains the basic drawing tools and manipulation tool. Now this is a drawing tool. If I am drawing a rectangle, then this is a drawing tool, and if I am changing the shape, then this is the manipulation tool. So this toolbox has all the basic drawing tools and manipulation tools which we can use to create drawings. Now you can click on any of the icon to change the mouse pointer to the desired tool. So if I am clicking on this rectangle, then see my mouse pointer is changing to a rectangle. Now if I change it to an ellipse, then my mouse pointer is changing to an ellipse. Now you can see that in some of the icon in this tool panel, there is this small triangle. Now this is called tool flyout menus. Now this tool flyout menus is actually an indicator that you have several additional options that open when you click on their icons. So if I click here, now I can see that there are two more options which are here, which are hidden inside this rectangle tool, or I should say there is only one option which is hidden inside the rectangle tool. Same way, if you click on this freehand tool, you will see that there are many tools which are hidden inside this freehand tool. So this is the tool flyout option or tool flyout menus. Then you have a very important thing that is called the ruler. Now this ruler is actually used for precise measurement of an object. Now if I take this ruler like this, rulers you can use, just you drag anything from this ruler and you can put it here. Now you can see that the distance between this left hand side margin and this right hand side margin are very much different. So in that way, rulers help us for precise measurement of an object on the page. Now I am selecting or I am making an rectangle. Now you can see that there are small nodes, or you can say anchor points. Now these small anchor points are called object handles. Now actually these object handles, they are little boxes that appear on the edge of the currently selected object. Now this rectangle is now currently selected, but if you see this circle or an arc, it wasn't currently selected, and as a reason there was no box. So when I select this, I can see this small object handles. Now if I drag this like this, I can change the shape of the object. Now if I select this rectangle and I have these object handles, now this is the shape tool. If I drag like this, then I can alter or I can manipulate the shape of the rectangle. Now if you go here in this extreme right hand part of this CorelDRAW interface, then you can see that there is this on-screen palette. Now this on-screen palette is a strip of predefined color, or the colors which are all predefined by CorelDRAW, so that you can use these colors when you need it directly from this on-screen color palette. Now this predefined strip of color has both grayscale colors, that is this gray tones, and also normal colors. Now if I want to expand it, I can click here and I can expand the entire color palette. But just let me remind you that there is no gradient color in this on-screen color palette. You can only have solid colors. So it helps us to just fill any object very quickly on the stage or on this document. Now if I bring this object here, this is the pick tool, remember. So with this pick tool we can select, position and transform objects. Now if you take your mouse on any tool and don't click, you will get a small definition about that tool. So if I just take my mouse on the shape tool, then I can see small definition or what this tool actually does. So I am just taking this object here and let me just use this color palette or on-screen palette. Now first you select the object and suppose I want to change the fill color. Now this inside color is called the fill color and this outside very thin line, this is called the stroke or outline color. Now if I want to fill it, I will just left click, and if I want to change the stroke color, I will just right click. So fill color to fill with some other color, then you have to left click, and if you want to change the color of the stroke or the outline, then you need to only right click. Now this is the Windows scroll bar. Now this area or this bar is used to display the areas which is a part of this active window. Means suppose I have zoomed in to 75% and I can't see the most of my page. Now to view most of my page, you can use this window scroll bar. Now along with this window scroll bar, there are two other options which are provided by CorelDRAW, by which we can access a specific area of a file when we have zoomed it. Now first is the zoom tool. It is actually an option to zoom the entire object, and there is the span tool by which you can just drag the file or drag the object and you can go to a specific area of the object. Now when you click on this zoom tool, now you can see that there is this plus sign. Plus sign means it will zoom in. Now you can see here in this bar, option bar, you are having the increased zoom level. So you can see the maximum amount of zoom is something, it is 264,583%. Now if I want to go back to the previous option, I will click here on this zoom out. So go on clicking on this zoom out option and you will see that you can go back. And if you don't want to use this zoom out icon, you can just go here and click on this to fit. To fit means it will fit into the window so that you can view it. Now let me just zoom it a bit, and suppose I want to access the top part of my image. So as I told you before, we can use this window scroll bar. But another option is that is called the span tool. Now if you click on the pan tool, then you will see the hand is coming, and by this hand you can navigate to a specific part of the image. Now when I click on this zoom tool, you can see there are few options which are available here. First one is zoom in. So if I click here, my object will zoom in. Then there is zoom out. Then there is zoom to selected. Now magnify only the selected object. So if you take your mouse here, you can see that the specific work of a certain tool is described here. So as this object is selected here, so if I click on this, then your selected object will get zoomed. Then you have zoom to all objects. So you click on the tool and you will see that your entire object is get zoomed. Then there is zoom to page. If I click here, then my page will get zoomed, and then you have zoom to page width. So zoom to page width is actually to width, means when you are zooming it, it is capturing the entire width of your browser or of your window. And this is zoom to page height. Now your object will zoom to the page height, means you can see the entire height of the page. Now in order to specify any default zoom settings on your own, now what we can do, you can go to this tools and then you go to this option. Now in the option, just close it. Now you click on this workspace and then you click or you double click on the toolbox option. So what I did, first I went to this tools, then options, then I went to workspace, and then toolbox, and then I clicked on this zoom pan tool. Now when you click on this zoom pan tool, you see there are certain default settings which are set here. Mouse button 2 for the zoom tool is zoom out. Now you can also change the options if you want. Now here if you see context menu. Now context menu means it will display a menu of command that let you zoom to a specific level. So if I click here this context menu, and here also I do this context menu and I click OK. So when I go here, now if I go here, then you can see that it is. Now if I want to specify any default zoom settings, then we will go to tools, then options, and you have to go to this workspace and then toolbox. So what I did, let me just show you again. I first went to tools, then options, then workspace, toolbox, and here if you see it is written zoom pan tool. So you click on the zoom pan tool and you get here certain options. So mouse button 2 for the zoom tool, mouse button 2 for the pan tool. Now mouse button 2 is actually your right click. So here I am clicking here context menu, and also here for the pan tool I am clicking here on the context menu and you click OK. So now when I right click, then you can see that there are zoom options. All the options for zoom is given here. So if I click here, I will zoom out. If I click here, I will zoom to page, zoom to selection, zoom to height, and zoom to fit. So by this, even the same as I did with the pan tool. Now if I use this pan, right click on this pan option, then I get all those options again which I just got when I used this zoom tool. So now it is clear that this zoom and pan tool along with this window scroll bar is very helpful in order to view the object or view your artwork properly. So we will go to the next part of this video. Thank you and see you with the next video. Now discuss a bit about the menus of CorelDRAW. Now first comes the main menu of CorelDRAW, as I told you before, which have the drop down menus. Like when you click on one of the menu, you can get the drop down. Now CorelDRAW has 12 drop down menus. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Now this help menu is not important as far as these tools are concerned in CorelDRAW. It is only about the your help for the product and what new they have added and updates and all. So we will all work only up till this window menu. Now this edit, effects, then you have text, and you have this arrange menu which give access to the drawing commands and special effects. So when I take my mouse to effects, you can see that there are few effects. There is blend, contour, then lens. These are all special effects. So this we apply on drawing. Then you have this file, then you have layout, and you have this view menu which are used to open and save drawing, import files, and also add or modify pages. Now if you want to import files which are created in some other software, then you should go in this file menu and use this import option. Now the tool window gives the user added functionality if it is needed. Now this is the tool. Now if you need some added functionality, so you can get it here. Then as we discussed before, that we have this status bar from where you can add sizes, you can change the curvature and all. Everything can be changed from this status window. Now we also have this flyout menu as we talked before. So these are the flyout menus which you can see when you click on these options. Now all these flyout menus are actually inside this toolbox. So let's talk about this toolbox a bit. Now first is the pick tool. which, as I told you, that if you take your mouse here and just wait for a bit, you will get the small description of what the tools do. So you have pick tool. Now you have this shape tool. Now this shape tool is very important as far as CorelDRAW is concerned. Now this shape tool uses to change the shape, to add anchor points, and all these are small effects, you can say, which you can add in our artwork. Then you have this crop tool, this is zoom. Now this set of tools, this is also another very important tool, because here you get all the path tool, means you can draw lines, you can draw shapes, and all the artworks generally contain this usage of all these tools. You can use any of the tool you like, but more or less up till this pen, starting from this freehand up till this pen, the output is same, only the tools are different. Then you have this fill tool by which you can fill the colors. You have this rectangle tool, and inside the rectangle you have another tool. So likewise we have this ellipse tool, then polygon tool. Now you see there are lots of tools which are inside this polygon tool. This is the text tool, and this is the dimension tool, which we will do later on. Now this is line connector. Now if you use this tool, you can show the connection between two objects, or you can show that which object comes after which object. Now then you have this tool. This is the drop shadow tool. This is the very important tool, which is the transparency tool. And this is the eyedropper tool, and you have interactive fill and mesh tool. So this mesh tool is very important as far as CorelDRAW is concerned. It can help you create 3D type object only with the use of different colors. Now here, that is another important thing, that is the outline or the stroke tool, and it is called the pen. Like here I was telling before that if you want to change the outline or the stroke, then you can right click on this color palette. Now this is actually the outline I was talking about. Now if I want to change the outline, you can use from here. Now this outline option you can get from here also. Now see, it is written here outline. So this outline option and this outline option, they are all the same. There is no difference between these two. Now this is another important tool, that is called the fill tool. We can fill any color either from this panel or from this fill tool. Now as I told you that this panel doesn't have any gradient color. Now the gradient color we can use from this fill tool. So the moment you double click on this tool, you will get this dialog box. Now see, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 options of filling an object in CorelDRAW. Now this is none, obviously. Now this is uniform fill and this is fountain fill. It is more like a gradient which you can get here, and it gives you an option of how to fill any object. Now the same way, if I click here this outline tool, if I double click, then you will see that this outline tool contains the colors, means whatever color you want to add in your outline. Then this is the width, and you can change the measurement here, and here is the style, whether you need it dashed or whether you need it simple solid stroke. Now you have these arrows if you want any arrow for your stroke. So everything regarding this outline is all stacked up here in this dialog box. Now before you start with your first foray into making any artwork in CorelDRAW, just have a good look at this tool panel, because everything you will do will be of these tools only. There are no other way you can draw anything in CorelDRAW. And another options you will use is this outline tool and also this fill tool. So now in the next session we will start with another very important topic of CorelDRAW, that is called the dockers. As we talked about all these tools here, now everything you can get in this docker panel. So in the next session we will start with dockers.